Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to Unparalleled Universe for another action figure review, and today we're taking a look at the brand new Mafex Ben Reilly Spider-Man. And I know this review isn't really necessary because this guy's been out for a couple of weeks already. There's already a bunch of other reviews out there, and chances are if you wanted this figure, then you already picked it up, because if you didn't, then you might have to pay a crazy aftermarket price if you waited. I think most people know that's the case when it comes to Mafex Marvel figures. So if this is something you wanted, I'm pretty sure that you went out and got it. But anyways, I wanted to make this video and talk about this figure because I freaking love it. I already opened them up, played with them a bunch, and it's an awesome figure, and I was very excited about it, so I wanted to make a video. So let's go ahead and get into it, starting off with the packaging. I love the Mafex Marvel figure style packaging. It looks like a comic book, and I think that's awesome. Up here, we get some nice looking Spider-Man artwork. It says Marvel 6-inch, and then 143 Mafex. I can't believe this is the 143rd Mafex figure that we've seen so far. I like how they put it on here and make it look like comic book numbering. I think that's super clever. Down here we get a look at the figure itself. It says Amazing Spider-Man, Spider-Man Mafex Metacom toy. On the bottom we got a bunch of bullshit. On the side of the box we get a look at the figure posed up very nicely, and then we get some Spider-Man artwork. Down here we have a Spider-Man logo and then a Spider-Man head up at the top. And then on the back, we get a look at the figure in a bunch of different poses, and then we have a couple of different looks that you could put him in, and that's awesome. Right here, we get a look at the figure one more time, and then it says Amazing Spider-Man. On the top, we get some Spider-Man artwork, and that's about it for the packaging. It is collector friendly and all that good stuff, but enough about the pretty box. Let's go ahead and get Ben out and take a look. And so here we have Ben right out of the box, and obviously if you have the Peter Parker Mafex Spider-Man, you know exactly what to expect out of Ben, because these two figures are very similar. But even with the similarities, Ben still caught me by surprise, and the main reason why is because he feels different. He feels like higher quality. I don't know if it's like a different kind of plastic they used, I don't know what it is, but he just feels a little bit better in hand than Peter did. And I'm not knocking the Peter Parker version. This is my favorite Spider-Man figure. I mean, by far, it's my favorite Spider-Man figure. I know a lot of people say that he's not the best comic book Spider-Man. I think those people are delusional. There is nothing that comes close to the Mafex Peter Parker Spider-Man in terms of like a good Spider-Man figure. I feel like Hasbro could get there if they tweaked the retro one just a little bit, but as it is right now, this Spider-Man is the king of the comic book based Peter Parker Spider-Man figures. But I will say right out of the box, the Ben Reilly Spider-Man felt better just because the quality of plastic. I love that they went with a more solid looking blue and not like a metallic blue like the Peter Parker has. And the lines are crisper, the web lines look cleaner, they're more defined. They did a better job putting the paint wash in there. Some of the details get lost on the Peter Parker version. It seems like they kind of went halfway with the wash. With Ben Reilly, the wash is very consistent, the lines are all crisp, and he just looks amazing. He looks super high quality and feels real good when you're messing around with him. I don't know if they use like a different type of plastic on him, but I just love the feel of the figure. Of like when you're messing around with him, he just feels real good. Objectively speaking, I would say that, like, you know, if I had these two figures in my hand and I was just kind of looking at them, I would say that the Ben Reilly one is probably the higher quality figure. But, you know, Peter Parker is always going to win for me because Ben Reilly could never be Peter Parker, right? He can never be better. I was expecting this just to feel like a Peter Parker repaint, but it doesn't. Even though there's a lot of similarities, there's enough different things going on here that makes this figure feel completely new and just incredible. They really did a great job. Mafex, man, they stay killing it, you know? Like, they always do incredible stuff, especially with the Marvel comic stuff. It's just insane, man. But I'm in love with this figure right now. But let's go ahead and get in close and take a look at the sculpting work on him. I think they did a really good job with everything. Starting off with the head, this is a really good looking head sculpt, but unfortunately it's the same head sculpt that we got with the Peter Parker Spider-Man from Mafex. And, you know, it works, so it's not really a huge deal, but I think that's whack reusing head sculpts. They should have done something to make it a little bit different. This could have been a good opportunity to give us like different size eyes to kind of represent different artistic takes on Spider-Man. That would have been nice. It's kind of, you know, like, it works in this case, so it's not a huge deal, but just like on principle, reusing head sculpts just kind of sucks. Even with figures that don't cost $90, I don't like when Hasbro does it. So to see Mafex do it, it's like, oh, come on. But, you know, like I said, it works perfectly fine. It's not really a huge deal or anything. It just kind of caught me by surprise that they used the exact same head sculpt for these two figures. Kind of strange, but, you know, it is what it is. But moving on from that, I do think that they did a better job this time around with the paintwork. As you can see, the web lines are a lot better defined. They're a lot cleaner. They look darker, and they just made the paint look a lot better on Ben than they did with Peter. Then moving down into the body, you could see that all this is sculpted on and just looks amazing to me. I really like this design. I like the big spider on the chest here. I think it looks very nice. It's very well done, very clean, sculpted very well. The paint is really nice too. I don't think there's any areas where the paint is off or anything. So that does look really good. Let's check out the back. Same thing on the back. This all looks really nice. Very clean and awesome looking. And then as you can see, the arm looks very clean. It's solid blue, but there is a little bit of paint shading in there. It's really subtle though. It's kind of hard to see. It's a little easier to see on the legs. As you can see, it gets lighter and darker throughout the muscles and stuff. So that looks good. On the arms here, he does have his web shooters that look good. And, you know, that's about it as far as the details go. I mean, they did a great job. I do have one small imperfection right here on the lower leg, as you could see. You might not be able to see. That's how small it is. It's right in there somewhere. There it goes. There's like a little chip. Not a huge deal or anything, but just something I noticed. Aside from that, all the paint is very clean and really well done. The wash on him was like perfectly executed. On the Peter Parker version, it seems like they try to put a wash in there, but it's pretty inconsistent, you know? Like, the top half of the body doesn't really have it, but then the lower half does. On Ben, it's very clean and even and consistent and just extremely well done. So, yeah, they did a great job with the paint and the sculpting on this figure. And then when it comes to accessories, he does have a lot of good stuff, but it's all things that we've seen before. We have multiple different sets of hands, including a pair of fists. We have a set of open, relaxed hands. We have a set of wide open hands. I guess you could call these wall crawling hands if you want, but they're just where his fingers are spread all the way out. He does have a pair of thwip hands. He has a set of web gripping hands. He has another set of open relaxed hands, but these have a peg in the middle, so you could use them to hold on to his mask when he's not wearing it. And then he does have a set of magnetic hands, and he also has a set of magnetic feet. And then we do have a bunch of different web accessories, but we've seen all these web accessories before. They still are cool, and I do appreciate that they're in there. And last but not least, he does come with 3 different heads. We have the one that we've already looked at, which is very similar to the head that came on the previous Spider-Man figure. Same thing with the alternate masked head. It looks good, but it's basically the same thing that we've already seen. And then he does come with an awesome looking unmasked Ben Reilly head. And I think they did a really good job with the unmasked Ben Reilly head sculpt. As you could see, it's a completely new sculpt. I love the fact that they didn't just repaint the Peter Parker head sculpt. I think that would have been whack. But as you could see, they do look very different, especially with the hair, but you could tell that the facial features do have some similarities. So I like that they put in the work and gave him a new head sculpt, and this does look really good. I love the hair. We've got the blonde with a bit of a brown wash in there. It's very subtle though, so they didn't overdo it with the brown wash, which is nice. And yeah, I think this is a great looking head sculpt. All the details are very crisp and clean. I like the way the eyes look. I think this is awesome. And this just might be the only unmasked Ben Reilly head sculpt that we have in 6-inch form. I can't believe we got a Kane Parker unmasked head sculpt before we got a Ben Reilly head sculpt. That's kind of crazy. But yeah, I think Mafex did a really nice job on this. And although I do like the accessories that Spider-Man came with, I think they could have done a little bit more with it, especially considering the character. Now, one thing I always loved about the Hasbro Marvel Legends Ben Reilly Spider-Man was the fact that he came with the parts to make Spider Carnage. I think that's awesome. And I really think that Mafex should have done that. You know, as it is right now, you could kind of make a Spider Carnage if you have the Mafex Spider-Man, the Mafex Carnage figure, but the hands don't really peg on there. As it is right now, I have like tape wrapped around the pegs because they are too small to plug into the hands. So, you know, for a temporary solution, this is okay, like if I wanted to take some pictures or something. But it would have been cool if I was able just to peg the hands on there. But it would have been even cooler if Ben Reilly came with the Spider Carnage parts. That's one thing that always separated this Marvel Legends Spider-Man from other Spider-Man figures that were made on the Pizza Spider-Man body. This was one of my favorites they ever did with this body. I think adding the Spider Carnage parts really like took him to the next level and made him more enjoyable. And I think that if they would have given the Mafex Spider-Man figure the Spider Carnage parts, it would have separated him a little bit more from the Peter Parker figure, because as it is right now, he basically has the exact same accessories, and it would have been cool to see them do a little bit more. But I'm happy that, I mean, you can make this work if you want. So it is what it is, but I feel like it's kind of a missed opportunity. They could have thrown this stuff in there with Ben. And then for size comparisons, I have a bunch of Spider-Man figures that I want to put next to Ben, but let's go ahead and start it off with him alongside the Marvel Legends Jackal and the Mafex comic book Peter Parker Spider-Man. And having this Ben Reilly figure really makes me appreciate that Marvel Legends Jackal, because Hasbro did a really great job on him, and no other company is going to dig deep and do a character like him. So I'm happy that they did it, and I'm happy that he looks so good next to Ben Reilly. And Ben also looks great next to Peter Parker. I'm definitely going to display those two figures together because I just love the way they look together. And then next up, we have him alongside the Marvel Legends Kane Parker Scarlet Spider, and then the Marvel Legends Ben Reilly Scarlet Spider. And I would love to see Mafex make either one of these costumes. I think both of these figures look amazing. Hasbro did a great job, but I do think that Mafex would make better versions of these characters. And then next up, we have him alongside the Marvel Legends Superior Spider-Man and the Marvel Legends Ben Reilly Spider-Man. And I'm really looking forward to the update that Hasbro is about to give us on the retro Spider-Man body. I think that figure is going to be awesome. Definitely looking forward to it. And in the name of tradition, here we have him alongside the Marvel Legends Bucky Cap and Marvel Legends Pizza Spider-Man. Here we have him alongside the Marvel Legends Retro Venom and the Marvel Legends Absolute Carnage. And then next up, we have him alongside the Mafex Into the Spider-Verse Miles Morales and the Mafex Into the Spider-Verse Peter B. Parker. And then here he is alongside the Marvel Legends Ultimate Miles Morales Spider-Man and the Marvel Legends Captain Universe Spider-Man. What if Mafex made him? That would be kind of crazy. Even though I do love this figure, I think Hasbro did a pretty nice job on him. You know, honestly, I'd be down for any Spider-Man costume from Mafex. I kind of want to put together a video talking about all the different costumes I'd like to see Mafex do, because pretty much every single Spider-Man figure they make is like the best version of that Spider-Man, you know? So they're killing it, and I just want to get more Spider-Man costumes from them. And not only are they killing it with actual Spider-Man characters, they're also killing it with Spider-Man related characters. Here we have them alongside the Mafex Venom and the Mafex Carnage. Both of these figures are pretty damn awesome. And then as far as articulation goes, obviously Ben has some awesome articulation because he's basically a clone of Parker in regards to the articulation setup. So I was happy to see that, because that was like the main attraction for that Mafex Peter Parker Spider-Man, was the fun factor, the amount of articulation, and just how easy it was to get him into amazing poses. Thankfully, Ben inherited all that from Peter. So I was very happy to see that. As far as the joints go, everything did feel pretty good, but the shoulder joint was a little tight on mine, so I did have some problems with it. At first, I really couldn't get it to move like this. You know, I couldn't really engage the butterfly joint. So I did have to put a little bit of oil into there, and this is the oil that I use. It's gun oil. Like, you could probably get something something different, something not this crazy, but it works just fine. I just put one drop in there. It frees it right up. Doesn't make a mess or anything like that. So it's all good. But that's the one problem I had. As far as the joints go, nothing else gave me any issues, so I was happy to see it. But let's go ahead and get into it, starting off with the head. He does have movement at the upper neck and at the lower neck, so using both of those, you get some crazy tilt. Look at that. That's awesome. And then he does have this crooked like neck peg, or the peg inside of the neck that goes into the head. So with that crooked peg, it actually gives him like more range looking up than on other figures. I think most Mafex figures have that feature, but I think it's very cool. And just look how much he's able to look up. So that's awesome stuff. And then he can look down to right there, which is nice. And then obviously side to side. So really good movement at the head. And then for the torso, he has like my favorite torso setup. We have a diaphragm cut, and using just the diaphragm cut, we get some really good side to side. It's able to twist. It can go back to about right there, which is good. And then it can come forward to right there, which is nice. But then he also has a ball joint at the waist. And using both of those, he could crunch forward a really nice amount. Check that out. That is awesome stuff. And then he could go back a really good amount. And then he could tilt. And then he could even twist at the waist if you want. So you got a lot of options here. But yeah, really good movement at the torso. And it's this kind of torso setup is just really good for getting figures into dynamic looking poses, you know, kind of make them look like they're moving and just like action packed. You could do a lot of good stuff with this type of torso setup. So I really like this. It's definitely my favorite. And then for the arms, he does have that butterfly joint that I mentioned before, which is awesome. You could get his arm to go back a really good amount if you want to make it look like he's going to punch somebody. So he could sock the jackal right in his mouth, right in his stupid smiling mouth. So really good movement backwards on the butterfly joint. Look at that. It goes way back. So good stuff. And then you could also get his arms in front of him a really good amount just with the shoulder joint. Look at that. That's awesome right there. So you could, like, if you want to have him punch somebody, you know, you could do that. And these shoulder joints are very helpful when you're trying to get him into like web swinging poses too. So really good stuff here at the arms. Get him in good boxing poses. Yeah, I really love the way that Mafex does their arms. It's awesome stuff. And then he also has a ball joint, so his arms do go all the way around. You can bring them up a really good amount just at the ball joint, but then you could also shift them up with the peg inside of the shoulder area, or inside of that butterfly shoulder joint. You could just like move things all the way around and just shift them as you want. And again, that just kind of adds to like different looks that you could give Spider-Man, you know. And then he does have upper bicep swivel, which is nice. He's got double jointed elbows that bend like crazy. Look at those. Boom. Look at the range on that. That's awesome. He does have ball joints at the wrist, so we get a hinge and a swivel. Looks like the ball joint can't really... Oh, yeah, it does. Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, the ball joints at the wrist move too, so you can move those around and get his hands in any kind of direction that you need. So good stuff there. And then at the legs, he does have drop down hips. Bam, they come down to like right there. And you could get him to kick forward a really good amount. Then if you want to crunch him forward at the same time, you can make it look like he could kick even more. Oops. Yeah, so that's pretty nice right there. You bring his legs out to the side, only to about right there though, even when you drop him down. So not too bad. You do have an upper thigh swivel hidden in there. And Mafex does like the best hip joints because they have the thigh swivel in there, but it's completely hidden. But it still gets pretty good range. So awesome stuff there. He's got double jointed knees. Boom, they get a really nice bend. He has ball joints at the ankle, so we get some swivel. They could hinge forward to here, hinge up to here, get rocking ankles on that peg, and then he does have toe crunch, or whatever you want to call it. Toe crunch, midfoot crunch, whatever. But yeah, just incredible articulation. This is like, I think this is this and, you know, Spider-Man obviously, and some of the movie Spider-Man figures is like maximum potential for Mafex. This is like the best they could do in terms of articulation. And I mean, and I don't think anyone could do better, really. Like someone like Thousand Toys is probably up there with this kind of stuff. They might be able to exceed what Mafex could do, but when it comes to like characters, actual characters that need good articulation, I think Mafex does it better than anyone else out there. Yeah, Thousand Toys has their synthetic humans, but they have a lot of liberties with those because, you know, it's their designs, or you know, they're robots, so you could put a lot of stuff in there. But, you know, this is a character that has like visual things that need to happen visually for the character, but they're still able to stuff in so much crazy articulation. It's just insane. And both Spider-Man figures are just so much fun to play with. It's really hard to put these down. When I first got the Peter Parker one, I was taking that damn thing with me everywhere. And now I think Ben is gonna go along with me a lot of places. But man, I just love this figure so much. So much fun to play with. It has such like seamless, smooth, easy to handle articulation, and you could just get him into so many dynamic poses. But man, they freaking kill it when it comes to the articulation. All right, so overall, at the end of the day, when the smoke clears, the dust settles, and it's all said and done, I'm sure it's a massive shock to hear me say this, but I absolutely love this figure. I think that Mafex did such an incredible job. Once again, they always do an incredible job when it comes to Spider-Man related characters and just Marvel comic characters in general. They always do amazing work. Sometimes there's little misfires or little things I wish were slightly different, but for the most part, they have been killing it with the Marvel comic stuff. Just like every single figure has been awesome, and Ben Reilly is no exception. I really think this is probably going to be the best version of the character that we ever get. So if you are a fan of this version of Spider-Man, I strongly suggest that you pick it up sooner rather than later. But if you don't feel like paying $90 plus to get this guy, you know, the Marvel Legends one is on the way, and I think he's going to be awesome too. But I could say with confidence that this guy is definitely going to be the best version of Ben Reilly Spider-Man. Yeah, they really did a great job. He looks awesome. The sculpting work is nice. The paint is nice. The paint is nicer on this guy than it was on the Peter Parker version, which was nice to see. The plastic feels good. I did have a couple of tight joints. The shoulders were really tight, so I did have to oil those up. And the arm did pop off a couple of times, so I had to deal with that. But after addressing those two issues, this guy was freaking perfection. And articulation is ridiculous, but that's to be expected. Every single Mafex Spider-Man figure has amazing articulation and super high fun factor, and they're just a joy to handle and to pose around and play with. So that's huge to me. And yeah, this guy is no exception. They did a great job with that stuff. Accessories are pretty good, but I do wish that he came with parts to make Spider Carnage. I think that would have been awesome, but I'm still pretty happy with what we got, especially the unmasked Ben Reilly head. I think they did a great job with that. Aside from that, he came with all the Spider-Man essentials, you know, multiple hands, web effects. He came with the stand, all that kind of good stuff. So that's cool, but I think it would have been nice if they threw in the Spider Carnage parts. Aside from that, I really don't have any complaints with this guy. I really, really love it. He's definitely going to be in the top 10 of 2021. He's probably going to be pretty high up there because this thing is just freaking awesome. Like I said, if you're a fan of Ben Reilly, then you got to jump on this quick because the prices are probably only going to jump up. That's how it goes with Mafex figures that are well received, you know. Once they come out, if everybody likes them, next thing you know, people are trying to scalp them. So if you want this guy, I suggest picking him up quick. But yeah, man, I really, really love this figure. I can't wait to see Mafex do more Spider-Man figures. I can't wait for the symbiote suit Spider-Man. I know that thing is going to be awesome. Hopefully they announce some more Spider-Man figures because they make the best Spider-Man figures, hands down. So I would love to see them just go all in. Give us more Spider-Man figures. Give us more Spider-Man villains. Give us some obscure villains like the Jackal. You know, like go that deep with it. I think that people will... I think that the fan base for the Mafex Spider-Man figures is strong enough to support getting some lesser known characters. I think they could do it. So it would be nice to see them get brave with the character selection. I think I want to make a whole video talking about like Spider-Man related characters I'd like to see from Mafex. But anyways, I think this guy is awesome. And yeah, I'm just very happy with it. And with that, I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Also, be sure to hit the bell notification so you know every time that I go live. I really do appreciate all your support. Thank you so much. Peace.